Hi there, and welcome to my review of Plague Tale Innocence, a game from 2019, so it is quite old, and I am playing this on my PlayStation 5. This game is a story about a brother and sister named Amicia and Hugo. Hugo has an odd health condition, which is explained during the story, but not at the beginning, so I'm going to leave it in suspense, just like the story does. The story takes place during a plague in the 1300s, where rats are overflowing the streets. I'm pretty sure this is meant to be in France, but I'm not 100% sure. These rats carry diseases which make people very sick, and also they are very vicious and they will actually eat people right there on the spot. At the beginning of the game, the Inquisition comes and tries to take Hugo away from his family home, and Amicia is forced to run away with Hugo without their parents. This starts our story where Amicia and Hugo make some new friends along the way as they try to cure whatever is making Hugo sick. And you could see it on him. There's actual physical deformities that happen, and they're trying to cure it the whole time. So most of the game, you are traversing the landscape, trying to get Hugo to a safe spot, and then trying to get his medicine with the help of some friends you meet along the way. So first, let's get to the good parts of the game. And there are quite a few good parts, to be honest. First of all, for 2019, this game looks very good. The environments are very nice and atmospheric, especially at the beginning of chapters where they show you like a grand opening. It does look much better than you would expect for a 2019 game. And the fact that it is not open world really does help a lot, because I feel if it was very open, they wouldn't be able to focus so much on the artistic parts of the level, and they wouldn't get the atmosphere as good as they did get it. So there are lots of rats in this game. I think the number is 300 when you're looking at them. I know the second game has way more, but the 300 really do look good, and they definitely fill up the play area, at least the way the environments are designed. Also, the haptics on the PS5 are done very well. The trigger feedback and the vibration is done so well. You could really tell that when they put this game on the PS5 coming over from the PS4, they really did try to use all the features of the PS5. And the loading is also quite fast. It's not the fastest I've seen, but it is very acceptable. The story is really well done. It's really well paced. I did enjoy playing it and trying to see what's going to happen next. I did know what the twist at the end was, but for someone like my friend that didn't, it was still a really good story. And even if you know what the twist is, it is going to still be a very good story on how to get there. There are a couple standout characters, and Hugo, surprisingly, is a very good character, and he does stand out to me. He does cry and whine and want his mummy all the time, which makes sense because he's supposed to be like 5 or 6 years old. To me, it's almost heartbreaking. Like, I think about if he was my kid and he was in that situation. So I feel like whoever wrote this game definitely had kids or was around kids, because they really know how to pull on the heartstrings. And the actor that played Hugo really did a good job conveying that want for their parents and that fear that kids have when something's not right. And even though he was annoying, it was very well done. Amicia was very well done as well, but I think Hugo was definitely the standout voice actor in this game. And all the friends you meet along the way are also very well done. There's no bad voice acting, I would say. Everything is done good, but to me, Hugo just stood out from the very beginning. In this game, I think you will die quite a bit, and the good news is the checkpoint system is very well implemented. It is not annoying where you have to do large sections of the level over and over and over. Also, the boss battles, which are very limited. There's, I think, 2 major boss battles that I could remember, and they were quite well done because Amicia is a teenager, and as a teenager, she's not exactly like someone with unlimited power. She has her sling and her rocks. There's not much else to that. And because of that, they are well done. But it is one of the places where I did die a lot. And I was grateful for the checkpoint system, which did restart me at the beginning of the boss battle. I didn't have to do a bunch of stuff to get there and watch some cutscenes. It was well done. Only thing I wish they did on some boss fights is have a mid-boss checkpoint. The boss fights weren't long, but they were a lot of trial and error, and unfortunately because of that you did die a couple times, or at least I did, and I feel a lot of people will have that issue, but it's nothing huge. I mean, it took maybe a whole 3 minutes to beat one of the bosses, and the final boss was a little bit longer than that, and that one is actually very impressive as well. As you are playing, new mechanics are always introduced, and the pacing is really good, so it never gets boring. You get new weapons and new things to try. So it's not like you're always doing the same thing over and over. It changes it up, and I found when I went back to get the collectibles, which were also very well done, they did add to the story. There was a little description to them, and Amicia had little sayings for the gifts. So I enjoyed getting the collectibles, but when I went back in the game to get all that stuff, I did find myself forgetting about the earlier weapons because I had so many new things introduced, and I was like, oh, I can't do that anymore. So now I have to go back to what I was doing and figure out another way past the puzzle. And this game is basically a lot of puzzles. It's either puzzles in the environment or puzzles with the enemies, and they're all very easy to solve. Here you are watching the puzzle with the rats, and there's lightning, and you can actually see that the rats go away, but there's no save zone at the end, so you do have to actually go and use the fire so the rats don't eat you. I did make a few mistakes, and this part I did keep them in the video just to show how quick the loading is and the checkpointing system, which I found was really well done. So I think right here I do get eaten, and I find that they do give you enough crafting materials where you're going to get through all these parts. And my problem was I just waited too long to throw the firebomb, and I got eaten. So I die, I hit X, and it respawns me right at the beginning, and I know exactly what to do. Overall, I would say the platinum trophy also in this game is quite reasonable. Most of the stuff is just collectibles. With a guide, it is very easy. Even without a guide, I found most of them. The only thing that is a little bit tricky is you do have to upgrade your items. And there are a couple crafting materials which are very scarce in the game. And if you are crafting a lot of your special consumables, you will not have enough to actually get all the trophies to get all your upgrades done. There is, however, a glitch, which you will find in one of my videos, that lets you pretty much upgrade everything for free as long as you made it to chapter 10. So you do have to get to chapter 10 on your own, and after that you just load up chapter 10, and it's a couple button presses, and the way the game thinks kind of tricks it into upgrading your items instead of making your consumable. You can find that video in my timeline, no problem. Just type in the trophy that you're looking for, and you will find that video. It's very easy, takes all of 2 minutes. As long as you get to chapter 10, you'll be able to get those 2 trophies. So even if you finish the game, you can always do chapter select and get those trophies, or you can do 2 playthroughs and get through everything yourself and do it the honest way, unlike me. Now, with all this praise that I've been giving it, there are a few things that are not as great. First of all, there are so many rats, and it does look really impressive. The rats do look janky if you look up close. They do kind of glitch. Their AI is quite simple, as you can see here. It doesn't look bad, but the way they move, it's basically they kind of move as a blob. They are supposed to be individual AI, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. Also, if you do kill the rats with fire or light, they kind of just disappear until, they become light and they just disappear. I mean, they had to do something, but at the same time, it does look a little bit odd. And sometimes when you're really paying close attention, the rats aren't as impressive individually, but as a whole, they do work quite well. Also, as you're playing, you will see some clipping issues. There's a couple parts later on in the game where your AI companions will kind of run through you almost. It does kind of break the immersion. It's not often, but it does happen, and I've seen it in other people's videos. Basically, it's just the AI, the way their path, they don't go around you, they kind of go through you, or there's no real collision, which, I mean, for what it is, it's not a deal breaker. But what is a little bit more concerning is that your companions are fairly dumb. I've had a couple times where I was going through an area and there's rats, and I have my torch in my hand and I'm trying to get through it, and my companion seems to just wander off a little bit too far and get eaten by the rats. Hugo holds your hand, so that's not an issue, but it's the other people that are on your journey with you. But how I found that in a couple of those cases, when I made it through, even though that companion died, it still checkpointed. The checkpoint still got me past that section, so I didn't have to replay the section. So it's just a little bit of a jank again, but it's not game breaking by any means. And there's also been a couple parts where clearly there's enough room to walk by the rats, but your companion still is like, oh, I can't go there because the rats. Like, if I was playing, I would have walked through it, the rats would have probably touched me, but I'd go through it no problem without taking any damage. Whereas your companions need you to throw the bait and get the rats out of the way before they come through that area. It's just a little bit weird. I feel like if this game never came to the PS4 as PS5 exclusive and there was more rats around, these things wouldn't be there. I think the way the game is pathed, it thinks there's rats there, where it doesn't let you go through, even if it's just one lonely rat running around. And it's not a big deal, but it does kind of get annoying near the end of the game, especially if you're collectible hunting like I was when that happened mostly. During the main path, it's not a huge deal, but if you're going out of your way, you might come into these scenarios more often. Now let's talk about the enemies. Now this could be good or bad depending how you like it, but I found the enemies were fairly dumb. They have a very distinct path that they follow. You can easily distract them, and if they are chasing you, it is not that hard to run away. And between major zones, there's like usually a wall you have to jump over. The second you jump over that wall, they forget about you. You could be literally on top of the wall. The enemy could be standing right behind you, and be like, "Oh, where do they go? They must be gone by now." And it just it's kind of silly, but I get what they're doing. Like you pass the encounter, you might have gotten a little bit of trouble. It's just they don't communicate with the enemies in the next area. Once you're past the area, the enemies forget about you. Maybe they're just not paid well enough to care. I could see that happening too. It's like, oh, not my problem. They're out of my way. And yeah, that's fine by me. It makes the game a little bit easier. And it also makes it so you can sneak by and you can actually enjoy the game. There's no difficulty setting, so you only got one setting. You got to make the best of it. The only thing that can make it more difficult is if you don't upgrade your items or you don't have enough things that you're carrying. So it's kind of nice that they do forget about you, but at the same time, it's a little bit weird when the enemy's like, I don't know where you are, and you could see them just looking through the slots in the wood on the wall. It's just like, oh, I guess they're safe. The last thing I want to mention, and I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, but there are a couple times where archers or spearmen are throwing things at you or shooting arrows at you, and you think you're safe, and then you get hit. And I'll be honest, a couple of times it did kind of make me jump, because the impact sound is so violent, and then the haptics on your controller, and everything's just so unexpected, especially if you're looking away from where things are being shot at you, and you just die. It's one shot kill and you're dead. Even a couple times I thought I was safe, I thought I was in the right spot, and bam, it got me, and it did make me jump, I'll be honest. I'm not afraid to say it. It's kind of fun at the same time, but it's kind of like, it does get you. It's just like, oh no, how did that happen? What the hell? So take it as a good thing, take it as a bad thing, but I found that was kind of jarring in a game where you're kind of trying to be stealthy, or even if the enemies know where you are and you're just trying to get through it, you just don't expect it, which is not necessarily a bad thing that this happens. It's just, it really did make me jump, and I just wanted to put that out there. Now I just would like to get to my final thoughts on this game. The game is very good. I do recommend playing it even so many years later. Right now it's 2024, it's the first time I've played it, and I'm glad I did. It was free on PS Plus, and the second game is also, or has also been free on PS Plus. If you have claimed both games, then there's no reason not to play it. It is a quick experience. If you're going for the Platinum Trophy, you're probably looking at about 8 to 9 hours, maybe 10, 11 if you're really looking around and taking your time. But it's nothing outrageous. It's a fun, quick game. The story is good. You can probably get most of the trophies along the way. Feel free to use the glitch that I used to get all the upgrades, and it makes the end of the game a lot more fun because you have the ability to hold a lot more weapons, and you can just get through it. It is a little bit outrageous. The rats, as you can see in this part of the video, they do swirl and then they can take out the light, but they had to do something, and they keep the puzzles fresh. They keep the combat encounters fresh. You're always able to get through everything. It's not very hard. It's trial and error, but at the same time, the checkpoint system is so forgiving that there's no reason to like throw the controller and rage quit. You can probably get through it, and if you're really stuck, I'm sure there's tons of playthroughs, but I don't think there's any part of this game where it's just like, oh no, I don't know what to do. The levels, the way they're designed, you naturally want to flow through it, so there's no reason to like get frustrated. Just explore. If you get lost, and you'll find your way. Worst case scenario, you die, and then they'll respawn you and they'll point you in the right direction, and there you go. And for that reason, this game I think gets a solid 8 out of 10 is my ranking. It's not a 10 out of 10 by any means. 9 would be a little bit too high. It does have a little bit of jank, and 7 just feels too low. 8 seems like a really good place for this game to sit. Everything it does is very competent with. It does some things exceptionally. It does need work in other areas. And it makes me want to really look forward to playing the next game, which I will in due time. There's other games I do want to get to ahead of that. I finally do get around to playing the second game in this series. I will be streaming it on this channel directly from the PlayStation, so nothing fancy. But if you're interested, just keep an eye out. Anyhow, thank you for watching, and I do appreciate your time. Please like and subscribe, and please leave a comment on how I can improve my videos, or if any of you have any thoughts on my videos, or anything you'd like to ask me. Alright, have a good day.